My own sister stood on the porch of the house that had been in my bones since childhood, the salt air I could taste in my dreams, and told the camera crew from Lux Life Redux that she'd saved this diamond from the rough, a true labor of love. The Pacific roared behind her, a sound that used to lull me to sleep, now just white noise to her performance. I watched it on my phone, crouched in a supply closet of the downtown Portland hotel, where I worked as a night auditor, the glow of the screen the only light. The inheritance from our grandmother, the one specified in a will I'd never been allowed to see. The beach house in Cannon Beach, that was supposed to be my fresh start after the divorce, my sanctuary from the unraveling of my life, it was hers. She wore a linen sweater worth more than my monthly salary, her smile a knife twisted with serene elegance. "Family legacies are so important," she said, her voice dripping with a sincerity that made my stomach heave. "Sometimes, you have to fight to protect them, even from neglect." The implication hung in the air, a toxin she'd released for an audience of millions. I was the neglect. I was the failure who couldn't hold on to a marriage, a career, or a home. The comments scrolled like a ticker tape of public execution. Queen energy. Taking back what's rightfully hers. And deadbeat brother probably wanted to sell it for meth. My hands trembled so violently the phone clattered to the floor. The closet walls, smelling of industrial cleaner and despair, pressed in. The last of my trust, the final anchor to who I was, had been publicly severed with a televised smile. And that was the moment I knew, the real revenge begins now. The numbness that followed was a colder, more desolate place than any rage. For days, I moved through my nocturnal shifts at the Avenir Hotel like a ghost. The perpetual Pacific Northwest rain, streaking the lobby windows like tears on a dirty mirror. My existence had been reduced to the hum of servers and the complaints of guests who couldn't get a late-night whiskey. My sister Elara was 7 years older, a fixture in the glossy pages of Seattle society, a partner at a boutique venture capital firm that specialized in ethical leveraging. She'd always been a solar eclipse, blindingly brilliant, impossible to look at directly, and casting everything around her into profound shadow. Our parents, lost to a charter boat accident when I was 16, had left her the golden child executor, in charge of everything, until Leo comes of age. I never saw the paperwork. I was too gutted by grief. And she was so capable, her embrace so tight as she promised. "I'll take care of everything, little brother. We're all each other has." The call from the bank was a mistake, a cosmic misdeal that ripped the veil off completely. My phone buzzed, an unknown number with a 212 area code. I took it outside, huddled under the hotel's dripping awning, the neon sign painting the puddles in garish pink. "Mr. Leo Voss?" A crisp, weary voice inquired. "Garrett Schiller, Vice President of Commercial Real Estate Lending at First Mercantile Trust, New York. We're preparing for the quarterly review on the Cannon Beach property, and your payment of $1.2 million is now 60 days delinquent. We need to discuss the foreclosure process and the immediate sale of the asset to satisfy the outstanding principal." The world tilted. The roar in my ears wasn't the city traffic, but the ocean from my stolen memories. There must be a mistake," I stammered, my voice foreign to me. "I don't own that house." "My sister Elara Voss Carlil, she does. She inherited it." A pause, the click of a keyboard. "Our records show the title was transferred to you, Leo James Voss, 2 years ago, upon the execution of Eleanor Voss's will. The mortgage, however, was taken out simultaneously in your name, with the property as collateral. The primary contact and payment guarantor on file is also you. Miss Elara Voss Carlizal is listed as a beneficiary on the trust that receives the property upon full liquidation, but she holds no debt obligation." He spoke as if explaining compound interest to a child. "The debt, sir, is yours. And it is in severe default." The rain felt like needles. A mortgage, $1 million mortgage, on a house that was supposed to be a gift, a legacy free and clear. Elara hadn't just stolen the house, she'd buried me alive in its foundation. She'd taken Grand's asset, gotten a bank to give her a mountain of cash against it, put the debt in my name like a corpse in my trunk, and taken the money. She was living in my house, funded by my ruin. The betrayal was so complete, so financially elegant and emotionally savage, it left me breathless. I mumbled something to Schiller about needing to consult my records and ended the call. I stood there, the damp seeping through my shoes, and felt the last vestiges of the grieving brother I had been dissolve. What remained was something harder, sharper, and single-minded. The next week was an education in my own annihilation. I became a student of Leo Voss, deceased. Using my hotel admin privileges and a stolen fee signal from a neighboring cafe, I dove into the digital grave. I found the probate records from Clatsop County. The will was real. It left me the house. Elara had filed it. Then I found the quitclaim deed, signed by me, a flawless forgery of my signature, notarized by a name I didn't recognize in Seattle. Then the mortgage documents from First Mercantile Trust. My social security number, my date of birth, a post office box in Portland I'd never rented as my address. The loan was for $1.5 million. The house, paid off by Gran, was worth maybe $2 million. She'd siphoned off almost its entire value, and left me with the poison pill. I traced the payments for the first year. They'd been made automatically from an account that was now closed and empty. Then they stopped. The foreclosure process had begun. Elara, on her Lux Life Redux episode, had talked about investing heavily in the restoration. She'd used the mortgage money to fund her own renovation, to increase her assets' value, while the debt quietly suffocated me. I couldn't go to the police. It was a civil matter, a family dispute. She'd charm her way out of it with her lawyers and her smile. I had no money for an attorney. I was a ghost with a 7-figure debt. My revenge couldn't be a lawsuit. It had to be a demolition. And for that, I needed a trigger. I needed her voice, her admission, on a record that couldn't be forged. I needed to become a ghost that could haunt. I sold my car, a 10-year-old sedan, for cash. I bought things. A high-quality voice-activated recorder small enough to hide in a pen, a pre-paid smartphone, a bus ticket to Seattle. I took a week of vacation from the hotel, a word that tasted like ash. I rented a cheap room in Belltown with a view of a brick wall, and began my shadow life. I followed Elara. I learned her rhythms. Her morning pilots at an exclusive studio, her long lunches at the Ruin with other sharp-eyed women and men in soft-looking sweaters, her evenings at gallery openings or the symphony. She lived in a renovated Capitol Hill mansion, all glass and sharp angles. Her husband, Simon Carlisle, was a silent partner in her firm, a man with the predatory stillness of a deep-water fish. They were a fortress. My break came from an unexpected vector. Her vanity. She was being profiled by Northwest Elite magazine. The interview was to be conducted at her home, followed by a tour of her proudest project, the Cannon Beach house. I knew the journalist slightly, a woman named Chloe who had once stayed at the Avenir during a conference. I reached out from a fake email, posing as a freelance photographer, offering my services for the home segment, citing a portfolio that didn't exist. To my shock, Chloe forwarded my email to Elara's assistant, who booked me. The fortress had a service entrance, and I was now the help. The day of the shoot, I walked into the lion's den with a camera bag slung over my shoulder, the recorder pen clipped in my chest pocket. The house was a monument to curated coldness. Concrete floors, stark art, everything pointing to a life of impeccable, emotionless taste. Elara was breathtaking, dressed in cream-colored silk, her blonde hair a perfect sweep. She didn't recognize me at first, her gaze sliding over me as just another piece of the catering and staff landscape. But then, as I adjusted a light reflector, our eyes met. A flicker, almost imperceptible, crossed her face, not shock, but a faint, chilly annoyance. Like spotting a weed in a perfect lawn. She didn't halt the interview. She simply absorbed my presence and decided I was beneath comment, a non-entity. The humiliation was fuel. Chloe asked soft questions about family legacy, the meaning of home. Elara's answers were masterclasses in revisionist history. She spoke of our grandmother's vision, of stewardship, of making hard choices to preserve beauty. It was nauseating. The tour concluded. Chloe and the actual photographer packed up. I lingered, pretending to check light sockets. As they moved toward the door, Ilara's assistant handed her a stack of mail. I was in the hallway, invisible. Then, my prepaid phone buzzed in my pocket, a deliberately scheduled fake call. I answered, turning slightly away, but keeping the recorder pen angled toward her. I spoke in a low, urgent mumble. Mr. Schiller. Yes, from First Mercantile. About the foreclosure on the Cannon Beach property. I let the sentence hang, watching Ilara in the reflection of a dark modernist painting. She froze, the mail held mid-air. Her polished facade cracked for a single, glorious second, revealing the cold steel beneath. The assistant hovered, confused. Once the front door shut behind Chloe, Ilara's voice, now a controlled venom, cut through the atrium. Leo. It wasn't a greeting. It was a summons to the principal's office. I turned, playing the nervous, caught-out younger brother. Ilara. I was just working. Don't insult us both, she said, gliding toward her study, a room walled in glass and books. In here. Now. I followed, the pen a secret weight against my heart. She didn't sit. She stood behind a vast steel desk, a general surveying a captured spy. What are you playing at? Talking to the bank. Here. They called me. Ilara, they say I owe 2 million. On Grand's house, the house you live in. She sighed, a performance of weary disappointment. Leo. Always looking for someone to blame. That mortgage was an opportunity. We leveraged the asset to increase its value. The renovation has doubled the equity. You were listed as the owner to secure a better tax situation for the family trust. The payments were being handled. There must have been a clerical error. A clerical error that puts $1 million debt in my name. Where did the money go, Ilara? Her eyes, the color of a winter sea, hardened. It was invested. In the property. In our future. You were never any good with money, Leo. You would have squandered the inheritance in a year. This way, it's grown. Once the house sells, the profit will clear the debt, and there will be a substantial sum left. For both of us. The lie was so smooth, so patronizing. It was foreclosure. The bank is taking it, Ilara. There is no profit. There's just debt. My debt. A faint, icy smile touched her lips. There won't be a foreclosure. I'm in talks with the bank. Garrett Schiller is a reasonable man. I'm having dinner with him next week in New York to restructure. It's a formality. Your panic is unseemly. She leaned forward, her hands flat on the desk. But you showing up here, disrupting my life, trying to embarrass me. That I won't tolerate. Sign these. She slid a single sheet of paper across the steel. It was a power of attorney, granting her full control over all my financial and property affairs. This will let me clean up your mess, without these childish interruptions. I looked at the paper, then at her. This was the move. The final consolidation of her theft. With my signature, she'd own me completely. The recording pen felt warm. I had her voice, her admission of the debt, her cold manipulation, but I needed the kill shot. I needed her to state her crime. Plainly, for the record. You forged my signature on the mortgage, I said, my voice quiet, empty. You committed fraud. That's not a clerical error. The mask fell. All pretense of sisterly concern vanished, replaced by a terrifying, serene ruthlessness. Prove it, she whispered. You have nothing. You are a night clerk with a history of depression and financial instability. Who do you think a judge or the press will believe? Me? Or the brother who fell apart after his divorce, who can't hold a job, who's desperate for money? She came around the desk, stopping inches from me. I could smell her perfume, something rare and expensive. Sign the paper, Leo. Walk away. I'll make the foreclosure go away. You can have a clean slate. It's more than you deserve. It was the threat, wrapped in the fox offer of mercy, that did it. Or what? I asked, meeting her gaze for the first time as an equal. Her smile was a slit. Or I won't protect you. The debt will crush you. You'll be bankrupt, unemployable. And I will make sure every person you've ever known understands that you're not just a failure, but a fraud who tried to steal from his own family. I will erase you, Leo. I will turn you into a cautionary whisper. She picked up a sleek, heavy pen from her desk, a solid cylinder of brushed titanium. Now. Sang. I took the pen. I looked at the power of attorney. And I clicked the recorder pen in my pocket twice, the signal to save and lock the file. I had it. The admission, the threat, the chilling, calculated evil of it. I placed her pen down gently. No, Alara. For a second. She was stunned into silence. No one told her no. Rage, pure and uncut, flashed in her eyes. Get out, she hissed. And when you're living in a shelter, remember you chose this. I left without a word. Back in my Belltown room, I downloaded the audio file to 3 separate cloud drives and 2 physical USBs. I listened to it on loop, her voice in my ears, my weapon being forged. The plan crystallized. I wouldn't go to the police. I would go to the source of her power. Her world. Garrett Schiller was the key. His dinner with Ilara was in 5 days at Le Bernardin in New York. I used the last of my cash for a red-eye to JFK. I slept in a hostel surviving on coffee and adrenaline. The day of the dinner, I waited across from the restaurant's discreet entrance on 51st Street. The Manhattan Rain, a vertical, neon-streaked curtain. I saw them arrive in a black town car. Ilara, a vision in an emerald gown. Laughing at something Schiller said. He was older, graying, with the confident stoop of a man who price lives in decimal points. They disappeared inside. I gave them an hour for the wine to flow, for the deal to be sketched on napkins. Then I walked in. The maitre d' eyed my off, the rack jacket with polite horror. I'm here to join Mr. Schiller's party. I said, my voice steady. My sister, Ilara Carlisle, is expecting me. The name worked like a password. He led me through the hushed, luxurious room. I saw them before they saw me, their heads close, intimate with conspiracy. Ilara looked up as I approached the table. The shock on her face was the most satisfying thing I'd ever seen. It morphed into a flash of primal fear before being slammed behind a wall of icy control. Leo. What a surprise. Schiller looked confused, then politely irritated. Mr. Schiller, I said, not sitting. My name is Leo Voss. I'm the name on the mortgage you're about to illegally restructure with my sister, who committed felony fraud to obtain it. Before you do, you need to hear this. I placed a cheap Bluetooth speaker on the white linen tablecloth, next to the wine glasses. I hit play. Her voice, clear and cruel, filled the space between us. Prove it, you are a night clerk with a history of depression. I will erase you, Leo. I let it play, the entire damning exchange. The other diners' conversations died. Schiller's face went from pink to gray. Ilara sat perfectly still, a statue of dread, her eyes locked on mine, screaming silent promises of annihilation. When it finished, the silence was absolute. I picked up the speaker. The original file, along with the forged documents and my analysis, is scheduled to be emailed to the SEC, the Washington State Attorney General, the FBI's white-collar crime division, and the Seattle Times in exactly 90 minutes. It's also set to post on every social media platform tagged to you both, and to the Lux Life Redux producers. I looked at Schiller. You have a choice. You can be the banker who facilitated this. Or you can be the banker who called his legal and compliance department the second he heard it, and foreclosed on the asset immediately, reclaiming what you can for your bank. But your dinner is over. Schiller was already standing, throwing his napkin down, his eyes avoiding Ilara's. This meeting is concluded, he muttered, already dialing his phone. Ms. Carlisle, do not contact me. My legal team will be in touch. I turned to leave. Ilara's hand shot out, gripping my wrist with surprising strength. Her composure was shattered, her face a mask of naked hatred. You little worm. She spat, her voice low and guttural. I will destroy you. I will find a way. I leaned close, my lips near her ear. You already did, Ilara. You just forgot that even worms can turn. I pulled my wrist free and walked out into the glittering New York rain. The sounds of her collapsing world swallowed by the city's roar. The fallout was a silent, spectacular fire. First, Mercantile moved with ruthless speed to seize the Cannon Beach property, exposing the fraudulent mortgage in their internal investigation. Schiller, To save himself, threw Ilara to the wolves. The story broke in the financial press first, then exploded into the mainstream. Chike Ashma Jorfien Familo Fralosurska Dale. The Lux Life Redux. Footage was recut into a true crime documentary segment. Her firm ejected her. Simon Carlisle filed for divorce. The DA, smelling blood in the water, piled on charges: forgery, identity theft, wire fraud. I never had to testify. The recording was inadmissible in Oregon due to its two-party consent laws. But it was a roadmap for investigators, who quickly found the evidence it pointed to: the fraudulent notary, the money trail, the closed accounts. It was the spark that lit the inferno. Ilara's defense crumbled. She took a plea bargain to avoid a trial that would have eviscerated her completely. She was sentenced to 7 years in a minimum security prison. The day she was sentenced, I stood on the empty beach in front of the house. It was boarded up, bank-owned, sign staked in the dune grass. The wind whipped off the Pacific, cold and clean. The debt was voided, my name cleared. I had no house, no sister, no inheritance. But I had my name back. I had my life scarred and mine. The revenge was complete, but it tasted of salt and ashes, not victory. I had wanted to hurt her as she hurt me, and I had. I had dismantled her perfect world brick by gilded brick. But the boy who'd loved his big sister, who'd trusted her with his shattered heart after their parents died, that boy was gone too, a casualty of the war. I turned my back on the house and walked up the beach, the vast, indifferent ocean erasing my footprints behind me.